Have you ever thought about if your thoughts could actually shape your reality? We're going to dive deep into the world of Seth. And he was a channeled entity who claimed just that.
Oh, yeah, Seth. Um, he was channeled through Jane Roberts
Right.
back in the 60s and 70s, and he really does seem ahead of his time.
Yeah.
So many of the ideas that he puts forward are kind of mainstream now, like the law of attraction.
That's so true. But you create your own reality is such a big statement.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to hear what Seth actually meant by that and how it goes beyond what we hear about the law of attraction these days.
Well, Seth didn't identify as a human soul or anything like that.
Yeah, guy.
He described himself as an energy personality essence and basically communicated this huge, intricate philosophy about consciousness and the nature of the universe through Jane Roberts.
Okay, so let's break down this whole you create your own reality concept.
Yeah.
It's definitely intriguing, but I have to admit I'm a little skeptical.
Oh, yeah, it can definitely seem a bit out there at first glance.
Yeah.
Seth's main idea is that our beliefs, thoughts, and emotions aren't just happening inside our own heads.
Right.
They actually have the power to influence the world around us.
So are you saying that if I believe I'm going to have a terrible day, I'm actually more likely to?
Yes, that's one way to look at it.
Okay.
Seth described beliefs as filters that color our perception.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe you're unlucky, for example, you might miss opportunities or fixate on negative events.
I've definitely had those days where it just seems like I'm attracting bad luck.
Right.
It feels pretty real.
It works both ways, though.
Okay.
If you approach the day believing in yourself and expecting good things, you're more likely to spot opportunities and have a more positive experience.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how does Seth's idea of you create your own reality go deeper than what we hear from so many people about the law of attraction?
Seth's work really emphasizes the idea that we create on multiple levels, not just with our conscious desires.
Okay.
He talked about thoughts and emotions having a kind of vibrational frequency that can impact the physical world.
Okay.
But it's more than just putting a positive vibe out there.
I'm sensing there's more to it. We don't consciously create everything that happens in our lives, do we?
That's where Seth's ideas about conscious creation versus subconscious creation come in.
Okay.
It gets pretty fascinating.
I bet. So I'm guessing conscious creation is when we're setting intentions or using visualizations to manifest what we want.
Exactly. It's about making deliberate choices about our thoughts and actions.
Okay.
But there's also this whole other layer of creation that's happening beneath the surface,
Right.
often without us even realizing it, what Seth calls subconscious creation.
So even if I'm consciously trying to manifest something positive, my subconscious beliefs could be working against me.
Yeah,
That's kind of scary.
it is a powerful concept.
Yeah.
Seth argued that we all have deep-seated beliefs and habitual thought patterns that are operating below our conscious awareness.
Mm-hmm.
These can be formed in early childhood based on our experiences, or we might adopt them from the people around us.
Right.
They aren't always easy to spot.
So how do these subconscious beliefs actually impact our lives? Do they just work in the background or do they show up in more concrete ways?
Think of it this way. You might consciously desire a fulfilling career,
Uh-huh.
but have a subconscious belief formed, maybe from childhood experiences, that you're not good enough or that you'll always fail.
Right.
That belief could lead you to self-sabotage without you even realizing it.
Wow.
Maybe you procrastinate missed deadlines or even turn down opportunities because deep down you don't believe you deserve them.
Yeah.
It's like there's a disconnect between what you want and what you believe is possible for you.
Wow. That's a really helpful way to understand how this all works.
Yeah.
It makes me think about some patterns in my own life that I've never quite understood. So how do we even begin to change these subconscious beliefs? It seems like they would be much harder to shift than our conscious thoughts.
It's not always easy, but it is possible.
Okay.
Seth was a big advocate for self-awareness. The first step is to identify what those limiting beliefs are.
Okay.
Ask yourself, where did these beliefs come from? How are they showing up in my life?
Right.
Once you start paying attention, you might be surprised by what you uncover.
Okay, so we've got this whole other layer of ourselves, our subconscious, that's actively shaping our reality alongside our conscious choices.
Right.
And that can be both incredibly empowering and a little daunting at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's yet another layer to Seth's ideas that makes it even more fascinating.
Okay.
He also talked about reality itself being multidimensional,
Okay.
with our physical world being just one piece of a much larger picture.
Wait, hold on. Multidimensional. Like, are we talking about parallel universes here?
It's a bit more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Seth's view was that our thoughts and feelings are constantly interacting with these other layers of reality, influencing possibilities and outcomes in ways we might not fully grasp.
So it's not just about shaping our own personal reality,
Right.
but impacting reality on a much grander scale. That's wild. Can you give me an example of what that interaction might look like?
Imagine throwing a pebble into a pond.
Okay.
The ripples spread out, impacting the entire surface of the water.
Okay.
Our thoughts and emotions, according to Seth, are like those ripples.
Okay.
They create a kind of energy that extends far beyond ourselves and interacts with this web of probabilities that make up reality.
Okay. So our minds are a lot more powerful than we realize.
Right. And that's where the concepts of freedom and responsibility come into play.
Freedom because we have the power to shape our reality, but responsibility because we're accountable for what we create. It sounds like a pretty big responsibility.
Exactly. It's empowering to know we have this ability.
Right.
But it also raises some important questions.
Yeah.
For example, does this mean people who experience hardship are solely responsible for their situation?
That's a really tough question. I'm guessing Seth addressed that since it's such a common concern about this type of philosophy.
Absolutely. It's important to note that Seth wasn't suggesting we have control over every single thing that happens to us.
Right.
He didn't deny the reality of accidents, illnesses, or systemic issues that create hardship.
So how does that work with the idea that we are creating our reality?
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
Seth's philosophy emphasizes recognizing that interplay between free will and circumstances outside of our control. He believed we have choices in how we respond to challenges, how we interpret them, and ultimately how we move forward.
So it's not about blaming ourselves for everything, but taking responsibility for our own choices within the circumstances we find ourselves in.
Exactly.
That makes a lot more sense. This is a lot to absorb.
It is. And we've only just scratched the surface of Seth's ideas.
We'll definitely need to dig deeper into the implications of all this after a quick break. Stick with us.
We've been unpacking some pretty profound concepts, haven't we?
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about the implications of Seth's teachings.
Yeah.
And this idea that we create our own reality. You raised a really important point before the break about hardship and how that fits into this framework.
It's true. A lot of people, myself included, struggle with the idea that if we're creating our reality,
Right.
does that mean we're also creating all the bad stuff?
That's understandable. It can feel like a blame the victim mentality.
Yeah.
But Seth was very clear that his teachings weren't about that at all.
Right. He wasn't saying that people who are facing challenges
Right.
are somehow responsible for creating them. He acknowledged that there are so many factors at play,
Right.
things we can't control.
So how does he reconcile those two ideas? That we create our reality, but also that there are things beyond our control.
It's about understanding the difference between creating the circumstances of our lives and choosing how we respond to them.
Okay.
Seth would say that even within difficult situations, we always have a degree of choice. We can choose how we interpret events,
Right.
how we cope with challenges, and what lessons we take from them.
So it's less about controlling every external event and more about how we choose to react and what meaning we assign to what happens.
Exactly. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Imagine two people who both grew up in poverty.
Okay.
One person might carry that experience with them and develop a deep-seated belief that they'll always struggle financially,
Right.
no matter what they do.
Yeah.
They might make choices based on fear and scarcity.
Okay.
The other person might see their background as a source of resilience and develop a belief that they can achieve anything they set their mind to.
That's such a powerful example.
Yeah.
Shows how two people can have similar experiences but end up with totally different beliefs and outcomes based on how they interpret those experiences.
And those beliefs can become self-fulfilling prophecies in a way.
Right.
The person who believes they're destined to struggle financially might unconsciously make choices that reinforce that belief.
Yeah.
They might not go after certain opportunities, or they might sabotage themselves when things start to go well.
Right.
On the other hand, the person who believes they can overcome anything might be more likely to take risks, persevere through challenges,
Right.
and attract abundance into their life.
Okay, so we're talking about beliefs shaping our perceptions and choices on a pretty profound level.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that Sid believed we create on multiple levels.
Right.
We talked about conscious creation versus subconscious creation. How do those two work together?
It's like an iceberg. The conscious mind is what we're aware of.
Okay.
The tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
It's where we set our goals,
You're right.
make plans,
Mm-hmm.
and try to manifest our desires. But beneath the surface, there's this vast hidden realm of subconscious beliefs and patterns that are driving a lot of our behavior.
So even if our conscious mind is focused on a specific goal, our subconscious mind might be holding us back.
Exactly.
And that's why Seth emphasized the importance of self-awareness and inner work.
Right.
It's about shining a light on those subconscious beliefs and understanding how they might be influencing our lives.
Yeah.
He offered a lot of practical tools for this, like
Mhm.
journaling, meditation, and affirmations.
Mhm.
I'm really curious about these tools. I've heard of them before, but honestly, I've always been a bit skeptical.
Yeah.
How do they actually work to shift those deep-seated beliefs?
It's about repetition and consistency.
Okay.
Let's take affirmations as an example.
Okay.
Affirmations are positive statements that you repeat to yourself either out loud or silently,
Uh-huh.
with the intention of changing your beliefs.
Okay.
The idea is that by repeatedly exposing your subconscious mind
Right.
to these positive messages,
Mhm.
you can start to reprogram those old limiting beliefs.
So if someone struggles with low self-esteem, they might repeat an affirmation like, I am worthy and deserving of love,
Right.
to counteract those negative beliefs they've been carrying for years.
Exactly. It might feel strange or even silly at first,
Right.
but over time, as you consistently repeat these affirmations,
Okay.
your subconscious mind starts to accept them as truth,
Uh-huh.
and that's where the real shift happens.
I can see how that could be powerful,
Yeah,
especially if you're doing it with a real sense of belief and intention.
right.
But what about those times when we don't even realize what our subconscious beliefs are?
That's where journaling and meditation can be really helpful.
Okay.
Journaling is a great way to get those thoughts and feelings out of your head
Right.
and onto paper.
Yeah.
As you write, you might start to notice patterns or recurring themes that point to underlying beliefs.
Uh-huh.
And meditation can help quiet the mind
Right.
so you can become more aware of those subtle thoughts and feelings
Right.
that are often just below the surface.
It sounds like a process of getting to know ourselves on a much deeper level.
It is. And it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Seth's teachings remind us that we're constantly evolving
Uh-huh.
and that there's always more to discover about ourselves.
That's both exciting and a little intimidating at the same time. We've been talking a lot about the power of our minds and how they shape our reality.
Right.
But before the break, you mentioned that Seth also had this mind-blowing idea that reality itself is multidimensional.
Yeah.
Can you help me wrap my head around that concept?
It's one of the most intriguing aspects of Seth's work.
Yeah.
He suggested that our physical world,
Okay.
the one we perceive with our senses, is just one layer of a much larger reality.
Okay.
And that reality is made up of probabilities and possibilities that are constantly interacting and shifting.
Okay. But how do we interact with these other layers of reality? We can't see them or touch them, right?
Right. But according to Seth, our thoughts and emotions actually have a direct impact on these other dimensions.
Okay.
Remember the analogy of throwing a pebble into a pond?
Yeah, you said that our thoughts are like ripples that spread out and affect the whole pond.
Exactly. Seth believed that our thoughts and emotions create a kind of energy that extends far beyond ourselves and interacts with this vast web of probabilities that make up reality.
Okay.
In a way, we're constantly influencing which possibilities become our reality.
So we're not just creating our own personal reality,
Right.
but we're also contributing to the creation of reality on a much grander scale. That's a pretty incredible thought.
It is. And it kind of takes the pressure off, too, don't you think?
Right.
We're not solely responsible for every single thing that happens in our lives.
Right.
We're part of a much larger interconnected system.
It's definitely a lot to process, but there's something really beautiful about the idea that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And that our thoughts and feelings have this ripple effect that extends far beyond ourselves.
I agree. It's a powerful concept, and it opens up some fascinating questions.
Right.
For example, if our thoughts are constantly influencing reality,
Uh-huh.
what kind of reality do we want to be creating?
That's a really profound question. What kind of world do we want to manifest with our thoughts and beliefs? And what can we do to make sure those thoughts and beliefs are aligned with the highest good
Yeah.
for ourselves and for everyone? I'm thinking we need to explore that a bit more.
I think that's a great idea. We'll delve into those questions and more.
I don't know about you, but I'm still like trying to wrap my head around all these ideas about consciousness and creation and multidimensional reality.
Oh, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Seth's work really pushes us to think beyond our usual assumptions
Yeah.
about how reality works.
Yeah, it's true. But I think it's also incredibly exciting.
Yeah,
If we really do have the power to shape our reality with our thoughts and beliefs,
yeah,
that opens up so many possibilities.
it does. But I think it also raises a lot of questions for us to consider.
Uh-huh.
Like, if we're constantly creating, what kind of reality do we want to be creating?
Right.
And how do we actually go about doing that?
Those are the big questions, aren't they?
Yeah,
We've been talking about these concepts on a pretty abstract level, but I'm wondering how we can bring this down to earth and apply it to our everyday lives.
I think the first step, as we've touched on a bit already, is awareness.
Okay.
Start paying attention to your thoughts. What kind of stories are you telling yourself, about the world, about what's possible?
So it's not about trying to control every single thought,
Right.
but more about noticing those habitual patterns, those
Yeah.
beliefs that keep popping up.
Exactly. Once you start paying attention, you might be surprised at what you find.
Yeah.
You might notice recurring themes of negativity or limiting beliefs that are holding you back.
I'm thinking about that example you gave earlier of the two people who grew up in poverty.
Yeah.
Their experiences were similar,
Right.
but their interpretations of those experiences
Yeah.
led to totally different beliefs and outcomes. It makes me wonder, how do those beliefs actually take root in the first place?
It often starts in childhood.
Okay.
Kids are like sponges, absorbing information and forming beliefs based on their experiences.
Right.
And the messages they receive from the adults around them. If a child is repeatedly told they're not good enough,
Right.
or that they'll never amount to anything,
Yeah.
they might internalize those messages and carry them into adulthood,
Right.
even if they're not consciously aware of it.
That makes sense. And those early beliefs can be really powerful
Yeah.
because they're often operating below the surface, shaping our perceptions and choices
Right.
without us even realizing it.
It's like we're running on autopilot,
Yeah.
driven by these unconscious programs.
You're right.
But the good news is that we can reprogram those old beliefs.
And that's where those tools you mentioned come in, right? Things like journaling affirmations and meditation.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little more about how those practices can help us shift those deeply ingrained patterns?
Absolutely. Journaling is a great way to start exploring those subconscious beliefs. Just get in the habit of writing down your thoughts and feelings on a regular basis. You don't have to overthink it, just let it flow. As you do that, you might start to notice patterns or recurring themes that point to underlying beliefs.
It's like we're becoming detectives of our own minds,
Exactly.
uncovering clues that help us understand how we're creating our reality.
Exactly. And once you've identified some of those limiting beliefs, affirmations can be a powerful tool for replacing them with more empowering ones.
Okay.
Remember, affirmations are positive statements that you repeat to yourself with the intention of shifting your beliefs. The key is to choose affirmations that feel authentic
Right.
and resonate with you.
I can see how that could be a really effective way to reprogram those old takes that are playing in our heads.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned meditation.
Uh-huh.
How does that fit into this process of transforming our beliefs
Yeah.
and creating a new reality?
Meditation is all about cultivating awareness.
Mm.
It helps you learn to observe your thoughts without judgment. When you can do that, you start to create a little space between your thoughts and your sense of self. You realize that you're not your thoughts. And that gives you more choice in how you respond to them.
It's like we're taking back the power from those old beliefs that have been running the show for so long.
Exactly. Yeah. And as you cultivate more awareness and create that space,
Okay.
you can start to choose different thoughts, different beliefs, and ultimately create a different experience of reality.
It's so empowering to think that we're not just victims of our circumstances or our past programming.
Right.
We have the ability to choose differently.
Yeah.
To create a reality that's more aligned with our values and our deepest desires.
That's the heart of Seth's message, really.
Yeah.
It's a message of empowerment, of recognizing the incredible creative potential that exists within each of us.
And it's a message that resonates deeply with me.
Yeah.
Even if it takes some effort to wrap my head around all the implications.
Right.
It makes me wonder if we're all connected, as Seth suggests, and our thoughts and feelings have this ripple effect. What kind of collective reality are we creating together?
That's a beautiful question to ponder.
Yeah.
What kind of world do we want to see? A world of peace, harmony, and abundance? Or a world of conflict, scarcity, and fear?
Yeah.
The choice is ours, individually and collectively.
It's a bit daunting, isn't it? But also incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
If we all choose to focus on those positive, life-affirming beliefs and emotions, imagine the kind of world we could create.
It's a world worth striving for.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored the mind-bending world of Seth and his ideas about consciousness,
Right.
creation, and the power of our beliefs.
Yeah.
We've talked about the difference between conscious and subconscious creation,
Mm.
and we've even dipped our toes into the concept of multidimensional reality.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has. And while this is just an introduction to Seth's work,
Yeah.
I hope it sparked some curiosity and inspired you to explore these ideas further.
There's a whole world of possibilities waiting to be discovered.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Seth and the power of belief.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep creating the reality you desire.